Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the regular county board meeting, September 8th at 10 a.m. Roll call, please.
Jim Marlowe.
Present.
Ron Gentry.
Present.
Ron Ellis.
Present. At this time, I'd like for everyone to stand and we'll say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Rick, could you lead us?
So Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to gather today, and Lord, we pray that you watch over this board as we make our decisions what's best for this county. Lord, we all know that we need a lot of prayer for our country, and we ask that you help us in every situation we've got going on, and be with our servicemen and women as they fight for our freedom. Lord, be with the sick, and once again, take care of this board as we make decisions, and so we get the opportunity to come back another day. Bless these things, we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Well, first thing on our agenda is the highway department. Greg, we want to go ahead and start off with you.
Yeah, we've got on our Hudson Trail subdivision, the plat, it's still got to get review from mapping, but they did send over, they got a variance letter here. There's an easement, it's a one lot subdivision. There's an easement running right up beside it that's gonna be used for access to this one lot, as well as a lot in the back. And so, we've been requiring them to send in a letter of variance. There is no issue with that, I don't think. It's kind of how it's operating right now. My opinion would be to approve this, and then at one of our subsequent meetings, we'll do the plat of subdivision for this Hopsy subdivision, and do that on one of our subsequent meetings. So the ordinance requires us to do this this letter ahead of time. So that's why I wanted to bring that to your attention today.
Okay.
All right.
Then we just need a motion then.
I make a motion that we accept the, is it Hotsy?
Hopsy?
Hotsy, the Hopsy Trail subdivision.
A second.
Ron Ellis.
Yes.
Rick Gentry.
Yeah.
Jim Marlowe.
That's all, update on things going on. We're about to finish on Crenshaw Road, Thompsonville Road. The mine's starting to put it back together. Hopefully here within the next week or two, we can have Thompsonville Road and Fancy Farm back together. They were long walling underneath the pipeline there and had to expose the pipeline, so they had to dig the whole roads up. So hopefully here in short order we get those reconciled and traffic back on here in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
Hey Greg, tell us about what you got coming up next year. You've got some big project coming up. Tell us what's going on there.
Well, we've got that, that grant for the roundabout, and we got to do we're gonna start doing the phase one and phase two for that, the design and right-of-way acquisition stuff for that. That'll take a couple of years. We've also got, we're gonna do Lake Beacon Road, rehabilitation. We're gonna widen that with some 4-foot shoulders on that. We've got TARP money to do that from IDOT, and we're gonna do Grassy Road from Illinois 37 to 148, and we're gonna use bond money to do that. It's kind of special money that IDOT's circulate to the locals. And then the other one we've got resurfacing is on Cedar Grove from Route 37 over to Crenshaw that we just completed, so that we can make that connection and provide a higher type road all the way from 37 into Herring. Then we got 3 bridges. We got one on Spillway Road that's going to be let next year. We got one on Lynn Branch, and it'll probably be let this winter or late winter. And then we've got one on Canaville Road. We're going to do a rehabilitation deck replacement on that bridge. So there's 6 jobs next year we're gonna have, plus the roundabout going. And then that's on top of what's gonna be happening with, our development.
A lot going on.
The Limb Branch Road, that doesn't involve railroad, does it?
No, this is a separate structure. We were waiting to get the one on the railroad done.
Yeah.
And then we were gonna tackle this one. We're gonna have to put a little roundabout, a little runaround in it so that we can keep traffic because there's no other way to get in for those folks. But
Is this the one that's just off 37?
yeah, it's about a quarter mile off 37 there. It's got the
You did some work on it this year.
Yeah, we did some, we did a little bit of maintenance out there, trying to get ready for some things, so next year, or this winter, we'll let that project, we're working on the design, finishing it up right now. No, it'll be a busy year for sure.
That roundabout at Crenshaw, is that gonna be a small one or?
No, it'll be a big one, it's gonna be big enough to handle semi traffic. It'll be probably similar to the one that they just built out there at,
Up Morgan Road,
pardon me?
Morgan Road, the city.
No, the one, I was gonna say the one on Heron Road and Cambria Road. Yeah, it'll be a big one to handle that.
Are they done with that one? Have you been out?
Yes, they opened it up. They still gotta settle up some stuff with us because they tore a couple of our roads up pretty good. Locals running around it, And so they'll be calling to go out and look at it. They'll have to fix those roads up.
You have to sign up on that you agree, and it's okay once you're done, right?
I did. We had an agreement going into it because I knew that there was going to be an explosion of traffic going around. They have to repair those roads. So pre-existing or better. So, and like I say, that one, they got some work to do.
Had several calls on that, yeah.
So that's all I've got.
Found out yesterday that Route 37 apparently, they finished the final phase. They're planning on widening 37. This is a state term, that's not us. That they're going to make 37 4 to 5 feet wider and a bike lane, and it's going to go from Wildcat Drive all the way down to the three-way intersection 37 and 148. So
Yeah,
they had to finish every 50 feet. They had to go through and do a drilling to make sure there's no artifacts down there. And so they got clearance on that. So that'll be starting this spring too. So
Yeah.
Jack 37 up for a long time.
Yeah, they're going to 3R that whole section. If you've been up just south of Benton on 37, they did a job there. And this is going to be very similar to that. Widen the road out a little bit and then lay the slopes out flatter. My hope is they also address a little bit of Lake Region Road. I've talked to them about it numerous times. Take that back a quarter mile or so. We'll see. I know there's some drainage issues there too.
On especially 37, where you have Lake Legion Road, as you're coming north toward Marion, just a couple hundred yards, you have a hill right there. When it gets hot, that asphalt shifts, those heavy trucks that come off that are avoiding the weight scale, they rearrange the lanes, and you have wings in there. And when it rains, the water holds on that stretch. And then once you pop the hill and before the railroad track, in the same situation. You have, when it rains, you have serious hydroplaning problems because the asphalt moves when it gets really hot. It hasn't been as bad this summer because we haven't had the extreme heat. But those two spots are really, really bad. And IDOT refuses for whatever reason to address those areas.
Yeah, the one saving grace we have had is there has been a slight reduction in the amount of coal going into the power plant with all the stuff going on.
Slight reduction?
Yeah, but they're still hauling carbon and of course the coal out of But it's not like it was. There for a while, we were getting a tremendous amount of material getting hauled over here.
That, and, yeah, they always have the trucks avoiding the way station and the wrecks, and then they have a big wreck and the traffic goes up there, so, yeah.
Well, Greg, if you don't mind, have a seat for just 1 second.
Yeah.
We're gonna come back to you for 1 second. Jerry, I want to get to you real quick. I didn't see you walk in after we started, so.
Yeah, we've got some things today. So first off, I received a notice from Clearwave that starting Friday, they have a planned scheduled maintenance. So around noon, we may see internet go down for 2 to 3 minutes at a time, a couple of times while they replace and upgrade equipment. After this, I'll be letting the department heads know that we're possibly going to have an internet outage.
That's not good. You think we ought to call in and see if we can schedule that for afterwards?
Well, that's not our equipment they're changing, it's their own backbone equipment they're changing.
But it's gonna affect us.
It's gonna affect-
During the day.
Yes, during the day.
That's not good.
Yeah.
I think Frontier's always try to do it after hours.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll see if we can give them a call and see if we can postpone it.
Okay.
At least after 4 o'clock.
All right. So the other thing is, we have been experiencing basically some cybersecurity attacks recently. Poisoned emails coming in that download something called Emotep, which is a banking Trojan.
The what?
Emotep.
Uh-huh.
It's designed to steal banking information, login credentials, things like that. I'm trying to work with CDS to get these emails blocked. Also, we have Terry from State who's come in, and he's recommending that we install CrowdStrike on all the systems in the county. It's a cybersecurity software. It's designed to stop these kinds of threats. If something like this happens, I'll get an incident response along with remediation instructions. He is going to be in tomorrow to maybe speak to Ashley and people next door. That is something I do recommend we install. Any other questions?
I'll find out from Clearwave. I'll contact them today. I'll see what we can do, if we can move it to after 4 o'clock on Friday.
Okay.
All right, that's it. All right.
Thank you.
All right, Kelly. A report for EMA.
Piggyback off of what you just said too, the product with the internet, something's going on with the internet. I've been talking to him about it because all of my stuff through the state is on webinars, which is, I think what we talked about buying through the WebEx, and it's not been working. So I don't know what's going on with that. I think to do with what he was just talking about, but we're gonna spend the money on the WebEx. It's not gonna work if I can't even do my state conference calls.
What, did he come up here, look at it, or what he said?
Yep, he's looked at all my computers. Not the speed, it's something to do with,
Clearwave situation.
which isn't good because everything's going virtual.
And you talk to Clearwave?
Right, Jerry didn't call him, you'll think.
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, it's his
He just came
job.
to my office and spent quite a while looking at all the computers and said it's not my computers. I have no idea.
All right, well, let me see if I can get hold of Clearwave, and I'll tell them that you're having those problems. And we'll see if we can,
You're actually saying.
this might be part of it, what they want.
And it's kind of big though, because we have a lot of, you know what I mean? Meetings and stuff that have to be attended, especially for a multi-hazard mitigation plan, which is getting ready to go in effect. If we don't meet those meetings, they're gonna have to come up with a lot of money. Because it's a soft match.
You're actually the second person that said, that was just when they're getting kicked off or something, or, I don't know, whatever, the deal on there, and then kicked off.
So in order for us to meet matches, I have to be on those meetings.
Okay.
If I can't be on those meetings, then the other part is gonna have to be financial contribution.
All right,
Get the people kind of thing.
okay, that's fine. So we'll see what Clearway has to say.
Other than that, I feel like a broken record, our numbers are going up, so the only thing I can do is plead to you guys, and something needs to be said to our local elected officials that we have to put something in effect. I put a press release out last week, especially with the holiday. It's gotta start locally. If we aren't enforcing the rules locally with the masks, it's not gonna work. If you notice, our numbers are not, they're detrimentally high. And
Are you talking about in this building or just in general?
in general,
Okay.
yeah.
And wait
In
till
the
after the
next
holiday, it's all over, what's the numbers now?
Yeah, you're not gonna see us go to phase 3, they're renaming it, it's called mitigation factors. So our next step is mitigations, they're gonna mitigate, and that's what we're gonna see. They're gonna put mitigation factors in place, and it's gonna be a phase 3, but they're gonna rename it.
The problem we have is no one is going to enforce it.
When you see the bars are full, the restaurants are full with no mask on, they're just gonna put in different mitigation factors, which will be,
Who would enforce that,
Turkeys.
Pike County?
The
no,
other sheriff,
different
police,
sheriff's
police
office,
doing it in Carbondale.
police, mayors, things like that.
If you don't get this under control, the economy is not going to get back to going normal. This
Well,
is
it's
step
not gonna
one.
matter because you're gonna shut everything down again.
It's going to go backwards. And people,
Prime example is Metro,
I'm not going to get started.
we're right there. Our number right now is like 10.5, I think. in
Yes.
the county.
In this county.
Yes.
Have you talked to Benny about what he said?
It's not necessarily a county problem as it is our cities.
It's in the city.
It's
Well,
the
I
city.
understand that, but I mean, as far as.
I mean, Benny doesn't have very many restaurants, Benny don't have very many bars. It's more of our cities. We need to reach out to our local,
Have you talked to Mike Asher?
he's not gonna enforce anything.
Well, that's a good attitude to have.
There you go.
We flew back in to St. Louis, we stopped in Belleville, and we drove down 159, and it was amazing, because there was a lot of restaurants in the Fairview Heights area that, the ones that were open, because they can't be inside, they have food that's outside,
Part of the Metro.
but most of the restaurants along Fairview Heights were closed. They weren't even open at all.
Because they're part of the mitigation factor.
Correct.
Yeah.
And they can't do anything indoors, everything has to be outdoors. So that's what we're looking at
Yes.
here.
Sorry.
But if the local administrators from the cities don't do it, literally, the governor's going to.
So the next thing is, as of September 15th, FEMA is no longer gonna pay for PPE.
He will.
No
What's-
longer gonna pay for PPE.
Let's break that down. What's that?
What that means is if we're not locally going to take the problem in our own hands, then they're gonna take it in theirs. That means you're gonna have to pay for masks, you're gonna have to pay for sanitizer, you're gonna have to take care of your own locals. They're not gonna pay for anything anymore. So all that FEMA funding is gonna come to an end as of September 15th. Because nothing's being done locally.
So is that just like in our region, or is that
Statewide.
just statewide?
Statewide.
Just this state? No?
For the United States.
Oh, United States.
September 15th. If they did anything before that, we can claim it, anything after that. No.
Okay, all right. Anything else?
You have any
That's
good,
very bad,
you have any good news?
very bad news. Sorry. No, that's about it.
Okay, all right.
Sorry.
Excuse me, could I ask a question?
Sure.
When those numbers are given for the county, do they include like prison, nursing homes, institutions?
They do not include anything that's federal. They include nursing homes. They do not include federal.
Okay.
If it's a federal facility, it does not include those.
I think it would be more informative, and I've heard several people say this, if those numbers were broken down more institutional cases versus public cases. Because a lot of people, especially older people, are scared to death when they hear those numbers, and they think everybody walking around has COVID, which isn't the case. So I think the numbers are just a little misleading.
They're broke down to an extent. If you look on Facebook, they need to put it on their website, but it's broke down a little bit on the Facebook page, Franklin Williamson Bi-County Facebook page. They have it broke down by age groups, but they're not, and by male and female, but they're not broke down as far as like where they're at, like if they're in a certain city, or if they're broke down like as far as like if they're in long-term care facilities, or if they're in a hospital, or that. I'm not sure if that has to do with like HIPAA laws or where that comes into effect that. I do know that if you go to IDPH's website, that it will tell you as far as like what percentage where all the cases are coming from and who has the highest percentage. I can tell you what city has the highest percentage in the county.
I think what I find, I agree with you on this, because I complained about it, it's not gonna change.
Okay.
If they would give a better indication, instead of just saying we have 4 males that are in their teens and 3 women that are in their 20s and 4 men that are in their 20s, break it down a little bit. And I think they could very easily, but they choose not to. That they should say X number of cases are in Marion, X number of cases are in Johnson City, X number of cases are in Heron, X number of cases are coming from long-term facilities. That would give people, because right now the way it is, it's the government's calling wolf, is how I look at it. Because they won't take the time and the effort to break it down to where people can ascertain what's really going on. To me, you might as well just stand on the mountainside and cry wolf. Because until they pull their head out of their butt and start making it specific, nobody's paying attention to it.
Right.
And I mean nobody.
Well, a lot of cases I know are being counted more than once, the same person. They'll get tested, they may have a positive, they may go back for a retest to see if they're over it, they'll get another positive, and this just keeps accumulating. They get counted more than once. It's just misleading. I just find it very frustrating when I watch, especially for my parents. My parents are scared to death, and I try and reassure them, but I don't want to reassure them to the point that they don't keep taking precautions. But I just don't think the numbers are
You're right.
realistic.
It's a fine line. You're right. Same thing my dad.
We can go ahead and move on here. So Kelly, thank you very much, appreciate it. Okay, under old business, we have the taxes. We discussed this taxes to be paid on the sale of land. Jeff, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, we got a copy of the closing statements
Yep.
that we had, and as we thought, at the time of the sale, the taxes were taken out of the sale of the property and given to the buyers so that they could pay the taxes.
Okay.
So that was taken care of the closing statements, and we've got a copy of all that. That's, so the people that purchased the property need to pay taxes. They've been reimbursed for the time that the county had.
Okay.
That's right.
All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
So it's a normal closing.
Typical normal closing, that's correct. Yeah, so we had all this stuff.
The only other thing under old business is a motion to bid accounting services.
Positive, either one of you are interested in doing anything with that right now?
You changed the wording, huh?
Okay, moving on. New business. We got a resignation letter from County Engineer Greg Smothers. Greg, you want to come on board here? Greg sent us all a letter. Said he's planning to retire from public service on December the 18th, 2020. It's been his pleasure to serve the residents of Williamson County. Truly enjoyed his tenure as county engineer, and certainly want to thank each one of us for the opportunity and trust that they put in it. He says together we've made large strides moving forward in improving the department and the conditions of the road network despite serious funding restrictions. At the department specifically, we've had greatly improved facilities, equipment, finances, and then overall the way it operates. And that the staff of the highway department does a great job. Greg, I tell you what, it's gonna be a big hole to fill, and you just wanna make sure this is the direction you want to go. And I'll just turn it over to you.
Yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed the job, I've enjoyed the things we've done. It's been a good run of things, it really has. Anything like this, you do with mixed emotions.
Like joy and happiness.
No, and I've told some of you that, part of me didn't want to go. But, I've got to a point where, and I talked about this a long time with my wife, my children. It was just something that we come to a decision on, I don't intend to stop working. I'm hoping to continue to work for 5 to 8 years in some capacity somewhere else, but, between my time at IDOT and my time here, I've had over 35 years, and it's just to a point where it's a good time to do this. So,
Well, we've been through a lot over the years, all of us have been, and we learned quite a bit about highway, road construction, and some of what we can do, and what we can't do, and it's a learning process. And I appreciate you being there.
Oh, I've enjoyed it.
Big asset to this county.
And I truly believe it's a, we've done a lot out there in terms of facilities, equipment. Our finances are better now, I think, than when I got there. It's just all around, it's whoever the baton is handed to will be dealt a pretty good hand of things, so.
Yeah.
When you take a look at, the area that you could utilize that's there, because you filled a lot of area in, built it up, so that a lot more of the area could literally be used. The facility where you were able to put the salt in, the new building that you built, that for all the equipment, getting the equipment rotated the way you have over the years, so that we can maximize that. And it really is a tremendous facility that you have out there. So I agree with you. Whoever is going to be the next engineer out there is going to, they're going to have a lot better opportunity, because they're not going to have to do a lot of the same things that we had a need for.
Yeah, when I started, all our dump trucks were kept outside. We've got a new mechanic shop, and all our dump trucks are kept inside now. Just lets it, they stay in better shape longer. You look at our grant money, and we've got, I don't know, about $24 million worth of grant money. And a lot of that's hard fought. It's tough. It's not easy, but it's like I say, all around we've done some good things.
I think you get the grants is your experience, knowing the ropes to get them.
It helps. It helps knowing how to do it, what to go after and when. All those things play into it for sure. So, but yeah, I've enjoyed it. No doubt about it.
Well, I'll tell you, this is not your eulogy, by no means, what I'm getting ready to say. But, I reached out to you, it's no secret to make sure you're doing the right thing, make sure you know what you're doing, and would you reconsider it? And I know talking to your family and stuff, that's made your decision to which way you want to go, but 35 years between IDOT and the county is a lot of years for somebody to have. It's a lot of years to help Williams County, and that is my concern, about which way we're going to go. We've got these projects you just talked about coming up. You've got the Walker's Bluff stuff that you've been involved in. it's all the uncertainty, the spreadsheet you had this, for many of those days, overwhelming of what we've accomplished in the county. You made our job a lot easier. We get a lot of road complaints, and I never looked at you as an office holder. I looked at you as a partner, a team. And anybody that takes this job is just like our job. It doesn't stop at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. It keeps going around the clock. And whoever this is that takes place better understand that. They're going to understand it really quick. When I look at your replacement, I talked to former engineer Jim Webb. I don't know there's a lot of experience out there. I could care less about politics, what color their skin is. I could care. I want that somebody that's got experience in engineering, doing what you're doing, experience. This is me, what I'm looking for. Knows finances inside and out, what you did. It came down to you and Keith Miley for your job. In the second round, you came back around. You showed your true colors on the finances. And that was the part that I think everybody liked. And you proved it. It's right here. They got to have a personality for these guys out there. You know, my phone's blown up, people saying, you know, why you keep Greg? You know, and it's Greg's choice. You know, I know we've had a few talks, Greg. I know some things and concerns you have that's put you in this position, you know, to resign. I get it. I truly get it. I hate it. But we do have the application, you know, that Yvonne's kind enough to send over today. We're going to have to post that as soon as possible and need your expertise to help us do this.
Yeah.
To get the right person. And you know, what all you accomplished engineers have been awesome, and we need your help all the way to December 18th to make sure we do the right decision for the county.
Sure. No, absolutely. I'll be happy to help. One thing I omitted earlier is I've always tried to put the taxpayers, I looked at it as if it was my money.
You do. That's what we all should do. That's right. You're exactly right. Absolutely. So, well, for sure. I know big party said no.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big decision. It's gonna change my life, so.
You discussed this with your family
Yeah.
and everything.
It's kind of like when we lost Wendy, where, you know, it's a big blow.
Yeah, we just need a motion then. Accept his resignation.
I will make the motion. I don't want to, but I'll make it.
I'll second it.
Ron Ellis.
Yay.
Roy Gentry.
Yeah.
Jim Marlowe.
Well, Greg, thank you so much
Yeah,
for your
thank you,
service.
guys.
I know it's gonna be a little bit before December 18th, so we still got some time and you know, you'll have a series.
Yeah. And I'm gonna be around, I'll be through the whole thing, so.
We'll make sure we get a good replacement.
Yeah, no, it'll go well.
Great. Thanks, Greg, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So we, on that, so we did get the,
I got it. I emailed today. Stephanie got it.
okay.
I say the sooner we post it, the better off we are. What we doing it for 2 weeks?
Well, yeah.
Greg, don't you have a website you can put it on?
Yeah, we normally put something like this, I mean, you also want to post it, but we'll put it on if it's all right with you guys, on the County Engineers Association site,
Yeah.
and it'll get around to what you folks say.
Is that different than Indeed?
Yes, it is. It's just within the county engineers statewide, and it already has. I've got calls from upstate already, so.
Okay.
But this will only help. But you also need to do it locally too.
We have to post it.
Yeah.
And the sooner the better. I would say if you've already got it, today's Tuesday, we should get it posted for either Thursday or Friday at the latest.
We're gonna run it 2 weeks.
Run it 2 weeks. And,
It's the same template as we did for him. It's the exact same thing.
and, definitely we would put it in the southern because it gets more regional, but, it wouldn't hurt to put it in one of the 2 county papers either. We have, for both of them for that matter, because it wouldn't be very much. You know, the Marion paper and the Carterville paper.
Is that Marion Star?
The Marion Star with Bill, with Swinford. And,
That's pretty good publication.
Then you've got the Southern, and then it would run for, we need to run it for 2 weeks. And then have a date. We run it for 2 weeks and then have a date that, is I would say 2 weeks after that. So if that was the case, we'd be looking at, by October 9th, we should have the resumes in here by October 9th, which would be a Friday. And then we could meet after that and start combing through.
Why don't you, Stephanie, call today and check pricing? I think we're gonna be surprised in the pricing.
Yeah,
and all
because
this.
there's quite a bit of wording in
Yeah,
what she said. It will be
it's
a
a
big,
pretty good fee. I think it's gonna be pretty expensive.
I think so,
So
too.
we may,
We may not, we don't have to run it for 2 weeks because there's other alternatives.
well, the internet's gonna be the key thing right there.
All right,
Okay.
we'll get that
We
figured
can
out.
decide.
All right, moving on. We have under new business, the 2021 regular board meeting schedule. Just need a motion to approve the dates.
I'll make a motion that we accept the December 1, 2020 through November 30th, 2021 fiscal year regular board meeting schedule as posted.
I'll second.
Ron Ellis,
Yay.
Bert Gentry,
Yeah,
Jim Marlowe.
Yes. Okay.
For the minutes. I make a motion that we accept the July 20th, 2020 minutes.
Seconded.
Ron Ellis,
Yay.
Bert Gentry,
yeah,
Jim Marlowe.
Yay.
Make a motion that we accept the August 11th, 2020 minutes.
Second.
Ron Ellis,
Yay.
Bert Gentry,
yeah,
Jim Marlowe.
Yay.
And make a motion that we accept the August 17th, 2020 minutes.
Second.
Ron Ellis,
Yay.
Bert Gentry,
yeah.
Jim Marlowe.
I'd like to read and accept the following reports. The Williamson County Clerk Vital Records for July, the Williamson County Clerk Real Estate Trust for July, the Williamson County Clerk Mobile Home Trust for July, and the Williamson County Clerk Fees Account for July.
Liar issue.
Okay. Under resolutions, we have a sales new owner, Robert E. Buffington. Make a motion that we accept the sale to new owner of Robert E. Buffington, resolution number 0529450037.
I'll second.
Ron Ellis,
Yay.
Bert Gentry,
Yeah.
Jim Marlowe.
Good. Okay. What is this resolution here? Get another place.
Should be the polling place resolution.
Mr. Buffington.
That's the resolution number. You said the
Mrs.
parcel
Buffington.
number instead of the resolution number.
This is the, this is the one,
Okay,
this
so
is
that was
only
the
one
PIN
person
number.
Buffington.
Okay,
Yeah, that's the parcel number.
Okay, that's the parcel number I read, that was the resolution number.
So just, so for record on that, on Buffington, make the resolution number 20-09-08-52.
For the record. Okay, then we have a resolution for a new polling place relocation. This is resolution number 20-09-08-53.
I'll second.
You want to talk about this?
Yeah, well, this is just moving it from the state regional office building to the Cornerstone, Community Church
Oh,
office.
they did come through?
Yeah, they called and verified that they'll pay, so.
I know there's been a lot of switching around for a lot of different reasons, but at some point there, when's the last time you can move a location?
Well, when we have to publish by, so probably in the next month, and this is it, this is the last one I have, I was just waiting to hear
I
back.
was just curious, there's someone.
Yeah, we were trying to get this one done with the others, but they just now notified me, so.
Okay, I'll second that.
Well, you don't have a first. Who?
Oh,
Oh, you did.
No,
Oh, you're
Nobody-
saying, but, okay, I'll make that motion to, accept resolution number 2009-08-53, the moving of a polling area.
I'll second it.
Ron Ellis?
Yay.
Bert Gentry?
Yeah.
Jim Marlowe?
Yay. Okay, and then we have the 2021 holiday schedule, resolution number 20090854. I'll make a motion that we accept the 2021 holiday schedule.
Second.
Ron Ellis.
Yay.
Brent Gentry.
Yay.
Jim Marlowe.
Okay. Okay. We have a water board appointment. For the Corinth Water District. We have a signed letter from Luann Anderson. She's resigning from her position as a member of the Corinth Water Board District. And they want to appoint Norman Rogers to serve the remainder of the term commencing on today's date due to expire April 30, 2021. Just need a motion to.
We need to do these separately or run together? Does it matter, Amanda? The resignation first?
Resignation or
does it?
Well, you're only really voting on the appointment, so I mean, you're just
So
accepting.
we're accepting it
You're accepting it, but you only have the one.
You guys usually do it all together.
Right.
all good. Package deal. So much to make sure you're right. Okay, those are the resolution on the Corinth Water Board, resolution 20090855. That's going to be putting Norman Rogers on the board.
I'll second it.
Ron Ellis.
Yay.
Brent Gentry.
Yay.
Jim Marlowe.
Yeah. We have another one for the Highway 37 North Water District. They're wanting to put Kevin Stroud and Steve Rhodes. They want to reappoint Kevin Stroud and Steve Rhodes to the Highway 37 North Water District Board for another 5-year term. So we just need to reappoint them.
So we'll go by the resolution number.
Yeah.
We'll put Kevin Stroud and Steve Rhodes back on. Resolution number 20090856. Motion.
Second.
Ron Ellis. Brent Gentry.
Yay.
Jim Marlowe.
Yes. Okay, this time let's open up the floor. And, anyone has, or you have something you'd like to address the board?
I do, and I think I've got some questions and concerns. I think the first few questions would be for Amanda.
Okay.
But it's concerning this letter I received about requesting a mail-in ballot.
Yes.
Why did I receive this?
They changed the law this year. State governor, he signed a new law. I don't know the number. I think it's on the letter. In effect, where we had to send that letter, vote by mail application to anyone who had requested or voted in the last 3 elections. So that was almost, it was like 29,000 people that we had to send that to.
29,683.
If you remember the number. So if you don't want to vote by mail, you just throw it away. And I know people have been getting them from other organizations also, the vote by mail applications. It's just a request to vote by mail, is all it is.
Okay, so this is a state mandated.
Yes,
The state funded it. It wasn't funded locally, is that?
right. There's grants that I'll be refunded for everything that we did with that.
Now, key there, refunded. We paid for it up front. We had to, we didn't have a choice. And this was statewide, so all 102 counties. And like she said, it was based off of the number of people that had voted in the prior 3 elections. So they wanted to make sure they didn't, in their mind, they didn't miss anybody. So we were anticipated to have to send out 30,000 and we got 29,683. So we were pretty close to the mandated 30,000 number that the governor chose.
Okay. And I assume these letters were printed out locally here?
Yes, so the people who do our VR voter registration, they sent me files. So they created the letter or the application and sent it to us and we printed them off.
It was done from your voter registration database?
Yes,
Okay, so the same database that you send our voter registration cards is what generated these letters?
exactly. But the company generated them for me and then sent me the files and I printed them.
Okay.
One thing that I'd like to take this opportunity to throw out, there was a lot of confusion because there were multiple letters that went to one household. But if you look at it, and that happened to my house, we have 2 kids that are of voting age that are registered to our house. And so we got 4, because my wife and I and our 2 kids, we've all voted. So we literally got 4 different letters. But if you look at it, it had each of our own names. It was addressed to, but it came to one house. And there was a lot of confusion because people were getting multiple letters, and they assumed that one person was going to be able to get, in this case, 4 different ballots. No, that's not the case, because it was person to the person. My daughter could have got one, my son could have got one, my wife could have got one, I could have got one, but I couldn't have got one for all 4 of them. That's not the way it worked. So there was a lot of confusion about that.
Well, the best people saying they got multiple ballots in the mail. That's the biggest bunch of BS I've heard in my life. Ballots ain't been sent out yet. So it's just rhetoric, noise.
Right.
So
So now, if this letter is completed and mailed in, it becomes an official document, correct?
I mean, yeah, we keep it on file, like we have 4,500 right now that we're gonna be mailing out. When's the first day we can mail? We have all those on file, and then, but we've got, like, some people did send in 3 or 4, you know, because they got the other ones. So those we mark as duplicate, and I keep them. I don't get rid of any of it until after the election.
So now, if there would be a question brought up in an election, say a vote would be challenged,
Okay.
when we get these ballots and send them back in, are they in any way correlated to the voter? Can somebody look at that ballot and say, well, Gary Rothschild voted like this?
The ballot itself?
Yes.
No, the ballot has no recognition on it. It's anonymous, just like when you go to vote. You know, there's nothing on it. You don't put your name on there. So I can't tell your ballot from someone else's. The fact that you put it in an envelope and it has your name on it, yes, that is. But when the judges come in and they open those, they try to be anonymous. You know, they check to make sure you signed it, that your signature matches what we have on file. They open that, they put it in a box, like they'll have a box to put all those in. So they're not looking at your ballot, how you voted or anything like that.
So in the case of a disputed election, and they came in and wanted to audit ballots, what would be the criteria for disqualifying a ballot for a vote? Or
well, a lot of times they look at if the ballot has markings on it. You know, first of all, to dispute an election, you have to be within like 5% of that, so it's really close margin. And then they would want to look at certain ballots, and they would pick certain precincts that they would want to look at.
okay.
It doesn't just open them up to look at everything.
So if they would just look at the ballots themselves, they would not look at these letters?
No, they wouldn't look at the, I mean, unless they requested to look at a certain precinct and the applications, you know, depending on what they request to look at. But we would have all those applications, just like when you go into the polling place and you sign that application, we keep your application on file also. So we have a vote by mail application, we have the election day
I've got
application.
one example. Remember when the Aaron mayoral race, it was decided by 3 votes, and they had to pick what? Certain
precincts,
that they wanted to
right.
recount the votes.
The law states what you have to do exactly, and they could only pick a certain amount of precincts, and then they look, it just depends on what they're looking at. They would look at the ballot to see if maybe it had any markings on it, if it wasn't initialed by the judges.
The ballots themselves have no name.
These other organizations, are they legitimate to be sending out?
Well, anybody can send out those applications. We have the application on our website too. But yeah, every election they do this. I don't know why they did it this time, knowing that they mandated us to mail out all those applications. I don't know why they went through that expense also.
Can I provide each of you with a copy of something to look at?
absolutely.
This was the letter that my mother received.
Tell me time there, isn't it?
Oh, my fingers got
Oh,
slid.
okay. Thanks, sir.
She's a little old.
You think so?
The 1700, that's because in our old system, we didn't used to ask for date of births. And so, whenever we went to a new VR system where it wasn't like a DOS format, the old, it was like Windows, they had to put a date of birth in there. So everybody who didn't have a date of birth got the 1/1700 date of birth.
Aren't those records updated on a pretty regular basis?
If somebody that comes in and does something, if your mom hasn't moved or anything, then we wouldn't, we probably wouldn't get that information. A lot of times we don't ask for that unless she's come in and seen it and maybe wanted to update it or something, we would update it.
Because my father also got one of these letters and his birthday was incorrect. It wasn't as erroneous as this date was, but it was not his birthday.
It wasn't his birthday. I could look at what we have on file. I could look at his old voter's card and see what was put on there.
Well, my concern is, and this no way is to reflect on your office. I know this was a new procedure, process that's thrown on you and you're dealing with it as best you can. But because of that, if we can't even send out the letters correctly, and I know of other people that have received numerous letters, and they say that they're numerous letters from your office.
Right.
So they're kind of confused on that. I just see a lot of potential problems in getting the votes in, counting the votes correctly. I just think your office is probably being overwhelmed all at once with this system. And I'd just like to know that there's some, there's protections that people are not going to have their votes discounted because of some error.
Well, the ones who, if we don't get something back, then it's not marked in our system that you've requested a ballot. Right now, it's just marked that these applications went out. Once I showed, I think Ron this in my office, once it comes back and we put in that you requested it, if someone came to the counter after that fact, then it lets us know that, hey, this person's already requested it. Then we would go and pull that application if, if we need to show them that we have this on file, is this your signature, that type of thing.
Right. But, my parents are in their 80s.
Right.
They could have very easily missed this, decided they wanted to fill it out, get a ballot, send it in, not noticing the dates were wrong. Other people could
The
do
dates
that.
you mean on their date of birth?
Yes.
Right.
I mean, if you sign something and it's not your date of birth, that's fraud.
I don't believe that as far as this, because we do have a lot of date of births, and a lot of people, when they got this, they corrected that if they wanted to, and we went ahead and corrected it. Like I said, in the old system, they didn't used to take your date of birth. They would ask you your age when you registered to vote. So I'm 23, and this was in 1968, but they didn't get the date of birth. So whenever we put all that information into a newer database, and this was done years ago, they put that date in of 1/1/1700.
Well, we all like to think that being in a small rural area, that, things are done with a handshake and all
Right,
that.
but there's 45,000 registered voters. I mean,
Unfortunately, we only get about half of
we're
the
in a
vote.
small area, but it is a big, we have a big.
If something would happen, and in these days and times with the elections and things, if an outside party would come in and really want to search and audit and find these things, I'm afraid people's votes could just be disqualified for none of their own fault.
Well, in Illinois, the only thing that they compare is signature. You don't show ID when you go to vote.
These
you don't have
letters
to.
are new, this is a new thing.
This is a new
Right.
thing, right? But yeah, I mean, if they want their information corrected, I'd be glad to correct it. It's,
Gary,
you guys, I'd have to look at, see what that issue is, if it's a typo or something, but.
if I'm a Chinese secretary, just, for instance, my dad's 91, he's in good shape, okay? My uncle Elizabeth, he's 94, he's in good shape, good gene, he just can't walk, whatever, okay? So, the last meeting, this is all new thing because of the pandemic, obviously. And I asked Amanda, they asked me to question, what's the difference between this versus absentee? Really, it's basically, she said basically the same thing, it's just a different way to get a vote. So, they're the same situation, okay? So, they're gonna have to mail it in one way to absentee or however, so. But I had a question, I'm just kind of show you what, she's got a way of checking things, I'm gonna give you an example. I talked to mine about a guy that called me and said his son turned 18 and he received 2 voter registration cards. One with one number, one with another number. Was him. So I hooked Amanda up with him, and she said, we would have caught it, she goes, it looks bad, we got to get that, but we would have caught it by, what do you say?
We have a duplicate registration program that we run to make sure.
It's only one person.
And he was the only one in there listed as a.
I couldn't think of what she said.
Because we get information from the state, plus I think he had done something for him also, so we got both of them.
Duplicate, that's what I'm trying to think of, yeah.
One of the concerns that I had, and this is when I went down, she spent a good 30 minutes with me going through all this.
Well, it takes that long if you understand.
Well, it's true. And that particular day, she had gotten in 1,200 letters for people that this had just gone out, this original lettering. And it was a Monday, and she had just got in 1,200 letters from people wanting to get the ballots mailed to them. So my question was, okay, you want to come in, we got people here that's going to vote by mail. What keeps somebody from mailing in their ballot and right toward the end, and then coming in and voting in person also? Because to me, this is, we have a setup here where if somebody wants to be not scrupulous, that's in her position, and we have 102 counties in the state, to my idea, there's a lot of opportunities in some of these counties that you might have this scenario where somebody would mail in their ballot and late, and it come in 2 or 3 days after the election, and then they voted in person. How are we going to stop that? And what she told me was that they're going to check the ballots as they come in against people. She has an Excel spreadsheet where everybody who's registered to vote, and they have a date that the letter was mailed out, that if they mail the ballot back in, it'll go on this as to when that date was when they got it back in. This doesn't keep track of how they voted, it just keeps track that they got the mail ballot back in. If they vote in person, it's on there. It's on the same spreadsheet. So somebody's going to have to take the time to go through this Excel spreadsheet and fill this stuff out to make sure that there's not duplicate ballots. And the question I have, and here's where it could come in interesting down the road in some of these other counties that have a history of not being scrupulous, that if you don't have somebody checking this, you could be in a position where somebody could mail their ballot in and count the in-person vote. And
well, that's one of the topics right now, I think the president's talking about, the double voting, so you've got to do both.
But
So,
if they do that, then that's on them, and it would be a matter to go.
That's fraud.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a list that goes to the judges saying these people have applied, their ballot's been returned, because we'll be processing those ballots up until election day. We'll be processing those every couple of days. I'll have election judges in here looking at signatures, opening them up, just kind of like if they were standing in front of them and voting.
we only vote once, Chris.
Amanda's got a good system here, and I feel comfortable with Williamson County. I'll be brutally honest with you. I don't have a whole that same confidence, and I can name you 10 counties. I won't do it right now, but I can name you 10 counties right now that I think that you've got the opportunity for tremendous fraud.
Right.
Ironically, in a year when the two biggest things on the ballot, one is for the president, the second is the fair tax.
I can vouch that, Amanda, you showed me before how those voting machines are inspected and tests are run to make sure they're accurate and everything prior to the election. And they're sealed and everything, so.
But your parents are saying, they have to vote another way. They don't need to be around this mess, because, you could be, I'm already voted here, and I brought up, the fact that what if we have a COVID case breakout? What are we gonna do now? I mean, so, it could very well happen. So, it's tricky, but we'll get through it all.
Right.
And we have other things too besides this. We have their social security number, and we try to get social security number, driver's license number, depending on how old their registration is, of course.
Right.
And if they've not moved or done anything, then, like now you go to the DMV and we get all that information. But I know you're concerned about the date of birth.
I just want to say that I hold our right to vote sacred.
Sure.
And whenever something new is implemented, I understand there's going to be glitches. So I just felt it was necessary to maybe bring this to your attention if nobody else had.
No,
And I know over time they'll get worked out,
Right.
but,
I think she's had a bunch of calls.
I have.
yeah.
As far as people getting more than one from our office, the only thing I can think of is they sent that to us in batches. Maybe it's, because sometimes the printer, as you can tell, when we were printing, like this one here has some lines, and I don't know if that happened when you copied it or when we printed it.
No, it was in the document.
Right. So, our printer messed up sometimes, so I don't know if that caused it to maybe reprint sometimes. I'm not for sure. If your parents had gone to Florida and registered or voted here, but say that sometimes they spent the winter in Florida and we mail a ballot down there, we had to mail a ballot to Florida and also to the home address. So there are times when they were sent both, but it should have only been delivered if it was a good address.
I had a hard enough time getting them out of the house.
I understand, but my parents are the same way. It's been.
That's right.
It's COVID.
I don't want to get out of the house too far either.
I got a question. What's the VID? Is that voter identification number?
Those are, yes, that's a number that, our system gives a voters a number, and then also the state gives them a number. So the 30912 also matches this barcode, which is how we would scan it back in, and then when we scan it, we check signature with what we have on file also.
Okay.
And if a signature doesn't match, and we've had some of those, we've mailed, I try to look at anything that we have in our file on our VR system that they've signed, because people sign differently. But we have sent out some letters saying, hey, your signature doesn't match what we have on file. Can you send us a copy of your ID, state ID? And then we scan that in as a new signature, so.
I feel you answered my questions, and, so my parents can just call in, or how do they get their address?
They could call in, are they wanting to vote by mail?
No.
No, okay. If you want to come downstairs with me, I'll fix it right now for them. If you want to do that, that's fine.
Okay.
We can fix it.
They've been around a long time according to this. They got a lot of good genes. You got a long life from you.
I wish.
Is there anything else then?
No, that's all I had. Thank you.
Chris, I know you've been waiting patiently.
Oh, I appreciate you taking the time. I know my stuff is kind of small compared to a lot of the things you guys deal with, but I want to thank you for allowing me to come. You all know me. Been around for 42 years as a businessman. I heard Greg talking about retiring. I was thinking, damn, I could have been done already. I do a lot of different things. I've done everything from preside over school boards for 19 or 20 years to Rotaries and Chamber of Commerce's, and now I'm the president of CASA. And 5 years ago when I was approached, I thought, man, I can't do anything else. And then when I heard what is involved with the abused and neglected kids in our county, I pretty much threw my hands up and said, you got me. And I came on board along with 7 or 8 other people that volunteer on the board right now. There's 8 of us, business people, attorneys, retired teachers, accountants, etc., to make up the board, as well as 77 volunteers, 77 advocates, and 3 office people, 2 part-time. So basically, there's 80 some odd of us that try to serve the almost 200 kids of the county that have been left by the wayside, abused, neglected. Pretty sad. I know all of you probably know the situation, but I wanted to come. I mean, we had a record number of children last year in 2019 enter into our care. And this year, unfortunately, with also the COVID-19 situation, abuse is still occurring. Maybe not reported as much to our school system and stuff, but still occurring. And we're on track right now to break last year's record with the amount of children. Casa Williamson County is designated. I pulled my mask off because my glasses fogged up. Casa Williamson County is designated as a rural program, yet we serve what's considered a suburban number of children with our staff. Several people kind of confused, I did, Child's Advocacy Center and CASA, and the 2 very good organizations that perform basically different functions for minor minors. CASA, Child Advocacy Center, CAC, they do intake interviews for DCFS for abused and neglected people suspected of that or reported that. So they have counselors that are specialists in those intake interviews. Once the child gets through DCFS into the foster system, that's where CASA comes on board. CASA basically advocates for that minor abused child, drug abuse, physical abuse, abandonment. That's what we're talking about. From babies all the way up. It could be as high as 21, but typically 18 years old. These children are in foster care and in the court system. In our court system, we have backing, of course, by the judges and attorneys and what have you that serve the kids. Our job is to help them navigate through the system, ensure a safe environment and direction to make sure the child's taken care of, and try to get them injected into a safe family environment for the future. I couldn't do what our advocates do. I'm just a board member that provides money and time. I don't get paid. In fact, it costs me about $5,000 a year in what I put out through my businesses. Thank God I'm able to do it. Our advocates are angels. The 77 people we have right now that actually go to these kids' foster homes, go to court with them, take them shopping, do whatever they do. It's unreal. I didn't even believe it occurred. That's why they got me where they did. Basically, our budget is right at $198,000 is what our budget is, which is pittance compared to your $153 million, okay, that you guys have to oversee. Simply said, I'm here because we need the funding that you all pledged to us. Ms. Lennon, Stephanie, I never met you before, so I'll call you by your last name.
That's the nicest you've been called around us.
Shared with us back in the third week of August that you all had decided to bypass the payment to us. The email that was sent to us was after she talked to the commissioners that you're wanting to bypass our second quarter payment, which was April, May, June, and in fact, questioning whether our third quarter payment would be able to come out in September. Now, of the $198,000 in our budget, $25,000 is pledged from Williamson County to us. It's less than 1.61 thousandths of a percentage point of your budget. Okay, it's over 13% of our budget. That's how important it is to us. And what we do with that $25,000 to provide our mission statement is doesn't even need to be defended, from that standpoint. I don't really come and ask for money very often. I don't really get real passionate about many things with regards. I served on a school board for 19 years. I ran a $12 million budget on that board for 8 of those 19 years. I understand about funding cycles and what happens. It was explained in that email that I mentioned from Ms. Lennon earlier that it had something to do with the lack of gambling revenue coming in, at least through one of those quarters. Even though you may have received activity in the account halfway through the second quarter, we didn't get anything for that second quarter. The payment was $6,250, 1 quarter of the $25,000. And I just want to appeal to you that it's important. I mean, it's something that we need to function. And more important than that, I'm not in front of it because of me. I'm in front of it for the kids. I don't know one child's name. I'll never know one child's name. By design, I'll never know one child's name. I just know the need. I know the need's there. And if this, pardon my French, damn funding cycle doesn't work through the gambling, we need to figure something else out. I know originally, from what I understand, this board of commissioners over 5 years ago chose to go the gambling route instead of through fees and fines, which is the way a lot of houses are funded this way. And I think it's just a darn shame just because our governor, or whoever's decided they're gonna hold on to some funds or not get funds down to us, that these kids in need don't get what they need. So I'm appealing to your sense of compassion and empathy to think about either figuring out a different way or coming less than 2/1000ths of a percentage point of your budget to our kids or doing something else. That's what I'm asking for. I understand the financial part of it probably better than most. I run 2 businesses and I am one of those people that started at scratch and runs a multi-million-dollar business now. But I felt compelled to come. You all know me. You've talked to me in different fashions. Hell, your county is one of my customers in some of the fashions. So it's kind of embarrassing to come and sit in front of you and do this. But I do it for the same reason I said the kids. And it's really, really important to them that we try to keep the funding in place. It may be something simple, like purchasing a $10 gas card for an advocate that's driving up T miles, in a period to cover a child, or to take them to buy a pair of shoes before they go to court, or get them a set of clothes because all theirs were contaminated from the drug house they were pulled out of. Okay, I can keep going on, but I don't think I need to. If you have questions, I'll answer them, and I'll come back next meeting if you need me to. But simply said, we need your funding for our budget. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
I just want to make a statement, Chris. And, first of all, I don't know exactly what the email said. So, but yeah, I would like to see it. But here's what I do know.
Except the bottom.
Okay. Here's what I do know. What I do know is I've sat in the Shark Foundation fundraisers with you.
They're one of our donors.
No. And I've shed tears over the kids, but going to tell stories on many, many times.
Mm-hmm.
And donated a lot of money to CASA, Child Center, and the Shark Foundation over the years. So I get it about the kids. Totally.
Yeah, I know.
And I remember when Chuck started the Child Advocacy Center, I remember hearing the stories back then. And these children need help. I think that back somewhere along the line, I'm not going to say exactly because I don't know exactly, is there was some funding from the judges tacked on to some fines, citations, that took care of some of this, and for whatever reason, some of that was pulled back. Guys, you may remember all this, but was pulled back.
It had to do with the accounting difficulties of keeping track of those fees and fines, is what I was told.
Yeah, I don't know.
And to make it easier on the accounting logistics within the county, I understand that you all opted, it may not have been you three, but this board opted to get away from that formula because of the complications and the logistics of tracking those fees and fines.
Well,
And instead went the gambling machine route or whatever.
Well, the reason why that was chosen, and it's something when you look at it, see what's going on, and see, it's, the judges always say there's something tacked on to everything. There's too many tack-ons to people's fines. Okay, that they were tired of the tack-ons. Okay, I've heard that from every judge come through here. So when you look at gambling, I don't care if you gamble. I don't care if you smoke, drink. I could care less what anybody does. Not my business. Some people look at it as a bad habit. Okay? Bad money. I don't care if they gamble. That's their business. So we decided that let's take some of that bad money, as some people look at it, and turn it into good money.
That's correct.
For CASA.
That's great.
That's correct.
COVID has hit us this year.
Yeah.
We are over $1 million. Office holders are going to have to make some tough decisions. Do I keep this employee? Do I not keep this employee? How are they going to run their office? Don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. So I hear everything, but we're going to be going to budget cycle, and all this stuff will come back around. We can talk to the judges and look at all this stuff I hear. but I do want to read this, but I'm sure they got, but I do want to see what the email says, so, go ahead, but
Chris, if I may, so I've known you since grade school. You know, I know you're an honorable man. We've had some dealings with the county through you, and everything has always been great, and the car and everything, and you've been tremendous to work with. A couple misstatements though in what you've read. You said our budget is 153 million. No, our budget is 15 million.
16.5.
I just got on the website, and it's very hard to
Oh,
follow.
you're probably talking about all the other entities out there.
I got on the Williamson County website and looked, and the
Right.
total of all of it's 153 million.
Entities.
So when I say R, I'm talking about all of the Williamson
Yeah,
County budgets as published on the Williamson County website, is what I was talking about.
But our budget is a total of
For the
15
commissioners, may only be 15 million of that 150.
15 million to run the county.
Yeah.
Okay. Secondly,
So you're two
The-
100%.
I understand everything you said about costing, you're exactly correct. And it's unfortunate that the youngest of the people in Williamson County were taken advantage of. It's very unfortunate. And so when, at the time that gaming came in, Brent is correct. We decided, well, this is an opportunity that we can take a certain portion to give to CASA. Now, this board, correct me if I'm wrong, Ron or Brent, we never decided to do away with the funding. We don't control CASA's funding. We don't control that at all.
This may go back
We
before,
just-
this may go back before the 380.
That could be.
Exactly.
All we decided to do was give CASA an additional 25,000 of this. We had nothing to do with saying, we're gonna stop the fine and fee.
I have
Nothing.
no idea.
We had no
I
control.
said this board of commissioners, not you guys. I
Well,
think
even
it
the
was-
board of commissioners would have no control over that.
That's the judges.
That's a judge's call.
They can do anything they
I
want.
was,
So-
I was told at one point, the funding through as you all know, Chuck set up a CAC
Right.
and tied it to taxes.
Correct.
Okay? Didn't do it for CASA, which if Chuck was here, me and him would have a good discussion about it, but by golly, when God rest his soul, when he passed away, he also made sure money came to CASA through his estate.
Correct.
So I would never speak ill of him, but CASA needs that funding as much as CAC.
We
needs it.
understand that.
Go ahead, please.
And so, like I said, there's two things that need to be straightened out here. At the time that we decided that $25,000 of our gaming revenue, we also said at that time, that's a floating number. Up to 25. So if it increases, it stays at 25 maximum. If it decreases, your allotment would decrease. And we're at a time now where, through, as Brent said, the COVID, that we're at least $1 million short for the rest of this year.
So in other words, you're saying that the gambling revenue has decreased by $1 million?
Our budget is going to be
Our
down $1 million.
total overall budget.
No, I'm talking, how much is the gambling revenue went down?
I don't have that number off the top of my head, Chris. I give it to you.
With COVID, they're not pulling slot machines like they were. It's all.
But everything is off. Everything is off.
I belong to
It's not-
several
it's
private
not our
clubs.
fault.
I belong to several private clubs that their gambling machines are doing very well.
That's
I
fine.
think it may not,
Some of
the
those-
states may not be paying the money.
Some of
but
some of those, if it's in the city, goes to the cities. It doesn't come to the county.
I understand.
That's all I'm saying. I respect you, Chris, and I know why you're here, and I feel your passion. Trust me,
Yeah.
we all have that same passion. We do. And this is a very unpleasant time. But I did want to straighten this out because you brought up some misconceptions there that I want to straighten out. So as this board goes forward with the budgeting cycle that we have to work with, we're going to have to do what the board has to do. Now, whenever we first implemented this, I worked with, I believe it was Kenneth George.
That's right.
And-
President of Board when I came on.
And I said, Kenneth, what you really need to do too is, what do you guys do for fundraisers? At that time, I guess
We do
they,
several.
well, at that
Can't
time,
right now.
I understand that, but at that time, they didn't do a whole lot.
Yeah.
Okay?
But we had.
And so, I understand, but it took a little coaxing, and I worked with, Kenneth, to get it going. And, because I understood the need, and like I said, it's unfortunate, these kids, there's never an end to these kids coming into the court system and stuff. And that the need and it is there, and it's growing all the time. I respect you, and I applaud your passion and everything and all that CASA does. But at the end of the day, we have to look at the numbers. And we've got more than just CASA to worry about. We have the rest of the county to worry about how we're gonna fund it. So that's all I'm saying.
Nothing's off the table.
Nothing is off
There's
the
a
table.
pause because we're going deeper and deeper and deeper in the hole. And as a true business person, which you are, we know that if things aren't going good, you gotta put a pause on some things, figure out what's going on before you go into budget.
I understand. I understand everything you said, and I respect it. And with due respect, I apologize for the mistake. It's very confusing to get on your county website and try to pick out 15.
I know where you got it.
153 million, but so it's 2/100ths of a percentage point, okay? Instead of 2/1000ths or whatever. The April, May, and June, we got nothing of the 6250. We also got no word that we weren't gonna get it. August, July, August, September, third week of August, the 19th, that, Mr. Gentry, that email you have in front of you, we initiated on the 19th, asking about the funding in the third quarter for the second quarter. Nobody told us anything. The answer we got, after apparently consulting commissioners, was we weren't gonna get the pledged amount because of the.
Well, nobody came to me.
Ms. Lemon said.
I think this
he's got an email in front of him that
I
says the
think
commissioners made the decision not to do it.
this was never in a board meeting. I think this is because everything is on pause. This isn't just CASA. Everything is on pause.
Well, I mean, how much money came in the second quarter, and should we have gotten part of that 6250 payment if some of the money did come in the second quarter? I don't mean to be a stickler.
First
here.
off, Chris, let me tell you, there's no contract here.
I started the conversation today by thanking you for allowing me to come.
Right.
And if the end of this is, don't come back, I won't come back. You know, I know how to handle things otherwise. We'll figure it some other way, and we'll realize that the county isn't behind us. You know, and that's what we'll do.
County is always behind CASA. Funding is a different topic totally.
I still paid my taxes.
We pay ours.
I still paid mine last week, or whenever it was. And there's still money coming in. Now, I don't go play gambling machines. I take my money and give it to the kids other ways. But, you know, and I hate to be a little bit of a stickler here, but I just don't buy that there's not $25,000, $6,250 in a $15 million budget for these kids.
You do understand. Down there is gonna tell us the exact same thing in the budget. You do realize that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
You do understand that office holder down there is gonna tell the exact same thing. You can't tell me, commissioners, that for county clerk's office, you can't come up with blank. We're gonna hear that for the next month from office holders right down there. You do realize that.
The difference is.
The certain people,
The difference is these are a bunch of people that are volunteers.
You do realize, do you understand what I'm saying?
There's a
Yeah,
difference.
hold on.
There's a difference. Oh, I understand, Brent, better. than
Gary,
most
and people, the taxpayers, you expect a service, correct? Okay, so that you expect service. So we have to handle that and this, talk to the judges. This ain't gonna be solved right here. Talk to the judge about why they quit the tack on. I have no idea. It was probably, who knows when that was. And we're gonna have to sort through it. We're not saying you're gonna get 25,000. Let's see what, till we get in the budget, see what we got.
Here's something.
I'm not saying you're not getting it.
Something that
Well,
I'd
I'll
like,
stop. Go ahead.
something I'd like to say here is, and this is something that I've argued in the last couple of budgets. It used to be called the Williamson County Women's Advocacy. It's very difficult for me to say.
That's a child advocacy. are now.
And the problem I have with this whole setup is that the money that goes to them, and they're no longer located in Williamson County.
They are still.
Well, but
They're
they,
there.
they changed the name. It's no longer Williamson County Women's Advocacy Center. It is Southern
Child
Illinois.
Advocacy Center.
It's Child Advocacy, and they pool with other
They do
counties.
very important work.
I'm not
should be
disagreeing,
Yeah.
but how that money is funded comes directly through real estate taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So the $25,000 that they get
I'm happy to-
directly comes
Yeah.
from the real estate tax levy. They're a component of the pie, which makes up the school district, the airport authority, county. There's a lot of pieces of the pie.
Yeah,
Their sliver of the pie is very small at 25,000, but they have guaranteed,
it's 29.
is it 29? Okay.
It goes up.
Because it goes up
Yeah,
because of
it
the,
was 25 originally, but they've actually had an increase.
but they get their funding directly from the county. Doesn't come from the county budget, it comes from the real estate taxes. So that's $29,000 less than other monies that the county would have at its disposal.
Right.
When this was set up, it agreed that it came through the gambling. And the thought was that we would not ever have a problem with the gambling money coming in. Lord knows we didn't know what we were going to get into here.
To extend the conference for 15.
But I have now, and I have continued to have, and I will continue to have as we get into the budget. I don't think it's right to fund one of these advocacy groups through real estate taxes and the other one not. And I'll continue to say that, but that's a problem that we have. And I don't think we can say as an entity that one group is more important than the other. They all supply needs for the kids. They're a little bit different in how they're worked, but they all supply the needs. And I think it's wrong, flat out, to fund one of them through the real estate taxes and not have them both set up for the same funding mechanism. That's my 2 cents.
I agree. You got one floating through real estate tax and one not, and that's what we gotta consider. But when all these claims are coming through, you know, you have to hit the pause button. If you don't have, we were $250,000 shy of even making payroll last week. So how, you know, if you run a place like a business like you're supposed to, which we do, we balance budget, I've been here 16 years every single year, it's because you run like a business and you have to pause the button. You have to say, okay, wait till we get the budget, see what we got. That's all we're doing.
So does
Nobody's
that,
saying you're not
so is
getting.
that done by one commissioner to Ms. Lennon and not earmarked and done in a meeting that?
We're going to be going
to
to,
the pledge?
I mean, Chris.
How's it decided that we're gonna give you 25? Oh, no, we're not, and don't do it, and don't let them know about it, and just let them ask us for it, and then we're told that, I guess, from what I'm gathering, less than 3 commissioners made the decision to not give us our money.
Where are you getting you're not getting 25,000?
What it says.
Okay, that's talking about it for, where are you getting tell me where you're getting your theory you're not getting $25,000. Besides in your own
I'm
head.
inferring it from what
That's not what it
is
says.
stated in the email. You want me to read it out loud?
Yeah, sure. It's about the quarters. It's not talking about the whole year.
Excuse me for having my mask off. Basically, it says, sorry, I'm not just getting back with you. I had Ashley run a report. The last time there was any activity in the account was May, which is halfway through the second quarter. At that time, they only received half of the payment from the state. Talked to the commissioners, plural, about it, and they are wanting to bypass the second quarter payment. Nothing about us getting it. I know that the third one is due in September as well. Hopefully there'll be a credit to that account soon. We'll just have to wait it out.
So has the state been paying us?
They haven't since.
They haven't sent money. So again, back to your question. So you received money this year, correct?
They got their first quarter payment.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
You got your first quarter payment.
$6,250.
So you're again.
And it's not my money, Commissioner Gentry. It's the money for the CASA, not my money.
I'm going back to your
Okay.
statement. You said we're not getting 25,000. You've already received 6,200, correct? Of the 25,000.
1 quarter of the 25,000.
So yes, it's an incorrect statement, we're not getting them 25,000. But you did get some of your money, correct? So far, we haven't got any money from the state.
If you thought that during my presentation, I was telling you that we were not getting any of the 25,000, I spoke incorrectly, I apologize. I was talking about the second and third quarter payment as I stated during my presentation.
Okay, well, she just said the state has not paid us any money yet. And that's where we get the money from, so.
That's happened once before, a couple years ago.
Well, we had to put the fire on them to
I
help.
think it
also.
was when Rauner,
They were playing games, and we had to get on the phone and get
We
it
weren't
in.
receiving anything at that time.
And we got on the phone to get it for CASA because they were playing stupid games like
Is
they
that what
always
they're
do.
doing now?
Huh?
Is that what they're doing now?
We don't know.
Do we
We have
know?
no
We don't
idea.
know.
Is anyone checked or?
I
Well,
have no idea. I have no idea.
Well, I think I probably beat the horse too much, and I apologize if I've offended anybody, but again, you know, there's still almost 200 kids that need help. So, I appreciate you
but
listening.
no one here has said you're not gonna receive your money.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I'm glad to know now that,
We haven't even gone in budget yet. We don't know what we're gonna do.
you know, until the 25th of August, 24th of August, we didn't know why we hadn't got the second quarter, or whether we were gonna get the third quarter. So, and I will admit, most of our board didn't want to get in front of y'all for this very reason. They didn't want to upset you and cause any issues or anything of that nature, you know? And, I just felt, I'm a very direct person, I just felt it was
I
important.
would say this, I would see there is a lack of communication both ways. We originally, when we set this up, Ken and George was pretty good about being at the board meetings and giving us an update maybe quarterly.
Here's a lot, yeah.
Haven't heard a word in I don't know how many years.
If that's what you needed, I would be happy to come. I have been here with CASA.
We do get a mailing once in a while,
Yeah,
you know.
but I'd be happy.
And I know your guy's still
I'll come to
active.
every meeting you want me to come to. I mean, we'll give you any report. You know, the other funding that we get that's not fundraising, that through some state
So-
grants and what have you, we have to provide information to them. We'll be very happy to make sure our executive director provides that to you if that's what you require. That's no problem. We're very happy to do that. Whatever we need to do to show you our worth.
I
we
told
will
Kenneth
do.
way back when, it's just nice to touch base with this once in a while, you know, that's all.
Be happy to do that. But I assure you, we are here and we're working.
I understand.
You know, but thank you for the time you spent with me. Again, I'm sorry if it was a little bit contentious, but it's important to I think all of us to look out for the kids in this county.
Think you'd have anybody
No,
disagree?
no, I disagree with that.
Is there anybody on the phone that would like to comment at this time? Do you have any callers? If not, then, come to the end of our meeting, I guess we just need a motion to,
Well, we're gonna come out of this and then go into adjourn until September 10th, 11 a.m. Is this gonna be the same,
No, it'll be a different agenda.
different agenda now?
correct. And-
So it'd be on the 11th, right?
No, you're meeting
No,
on the 10th.
September 10th,
We're just
And
10th
the
and 11th,
we're meeting with Red. And then
11 o'clock.
at 11 o'clock.
a separate agenda.
Yes, and then on the 11th, we're meeting, Zoom meeting with Tony Baxter.
Okay, then I will make,
At 9 o'clock.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Ron Ellis.
Yeah.
Rick Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Jim Marshall.
Yeah.
On the record, is there anything we can do to contact the state? Is everybody leaving contact?
Come downstairs.